That wasn't very enthusiastic. Good morning.
Good morning.
That's a bit better. So, you have some announcements to make first of all, Della. Want to use this one?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Please use it. I can't hear you.
Okay.
Oh, you cannot hear. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good morning, everyone. I hope you had a good rest yesterday. I know you guys are arriving late. Just a few things. There's going to be interview session, but starting tomorrow. So it's going to be at the 4 to 5 o'clock time slot, 10 minutes each. And please make sure it's only for interview question, for meditation questions, and not personal issues. Okay. I'm going to take this to the dining hall so you can sign up, but it's for tomorrow. And also, Ajahn is very compassionate because knowing all of us arrived very late last night, so there will be no sutta session today. So the 3 to 4 session is canceled, so you can relax, meditate, and chill out. And also, there are some blank papers out there for Q&A session. So please feel free to write down your questions, put it in the basket. You'll see it out there in a small desk. So please do so before the Q&A session tonight. Thank you. And my name is Della. This is Yanagi. And she's the Indonesian group leader. So if there's any question, you can always come to me or Yanagi. And Freddie, there is also a committee member. And also Beata, she's always here leading the group. Thank you. So you want to do, Yanagi is going to do Indonesian translation.
Ya, mungkin hanya singkat aja karena jadi kan biasa ada sesi interview personal, tapi itu akan dimulai besok. Hari ini tidak ada. Jadi dimulai besok dari jam 4 sampai 5 sore, 10 menit tiap sesi. Jadi nanti boleh isi, ada formnya, boleh diisi di dining room nanti ya. Jadi hari ini enggak ada sutta class juga yang jam 4 p.m.
The sutta class today cancel.
Ya, yang jam 3 itu di cancel. Jadi disuruh istirahat aja karena kita semua nyampenya telat banget ya. Jadi Ajahn Brahm bilang chill out aja. Terus ya kan ada Q&A ya. Yang akan dijawab di malam hari, ada kertas di luar, boleh diisi kertasnya di depan pintu saja. Oke, ya itu saja. Oh ya, by the way, kemarin saya ada bilang tap water bisa diminum, tapi ternyata adalah yang ada garis biru, pita birunya itu yang boleh diminum ya, dan di dapur juga ada. Jadi ya supaya aman kita ya amankan saja ya.
She worry about the tap water. she tell everybody can drinkable. So she afraid. She thought that all tap water are drinkable. So she worried that she's going to kill someone. So she just want to emphasize.
Okay. But anyway, you don't have to translate for me, because this monk over here, he knows perfect Indonesian, so he'll tell me exactly what you tell others. But also, I did want to make sure that people do have a rest this afternoon. So it'll be a talk, and then it's for you to do some meditation, walking meditation, or whatever you need to do. And then it's going to be tomorrow we really get into it. One of the things with interviews, it's a waste of time doing interviews when you haven't done much meditation today. So you want to make sure you have a good day of peace and quiet. And then tomorrow we can do the interviews and the sutta class. I think that's much better for you. One of the reasons I say that also is, I didn't get back at 1 o'clock in the morning like some of you did. But I did go to Nolamara last night to give the Friday night talk, so we didn't get back until about 10:30 this evening, or like yesterday evening. So it's also for me as well, so that I can do lots of meditation today, get a good rest, and then when I come this evening to do the Q&A class, and when we do the interviews tomorrow, I'll be at full power, firing on all cylinders. And the reason I do that is also to make it clear to everybody that if you want to get some success in meditation, you have to make sure your body is reasonably healthy and strong. And that's one of the teachings of the Buddha, which I took seriously. When I first saw this, I thought, wow, this is something which was, at the time, revolutionary, when the Buddha decided to rest before really getting into the practice of deep meditation. Because he realized it's difficult for you, for anybody, to get into deep meditation when you are tired. Sometimes you can do that, and when I get into the nice meditations when I'm really exhausted, it's fantastic. It gives you so much inspiration. You can still do this even though you're very tired. But what the Buddha advised was to make sure that you are well rested, well fed, warm enough, and hopefully that in your rooms it's warm enough. And I'm sure that you can find a nice warm little place there, even in your room to meditate if you want to. Or in here with a nice aircon in here. And so when you're comfortable, then you find the meditation works so much better. And that's exactly what the Buddha did. He ate properly, he rested, he washed, and whenever he found a place to meditate, he went to a place which was quiet, but which didn't have so many mosquitoes. I don't know what it's like in Indonesia right now, but there's usually lots of mosquitoes there. But I'm sure I can guarantee in the next few days there'll be no mosquitoes biting you here. They hate the cold more than you do. I always remember these mosquitoes. They were just, I don't know what they were doing or why they were doing it. They weren't just biting you, they were torturing you. Because you know what happens? If you're mindful and you're just kind, just let the mosquitoes bite you, they don't just bite you. First of all, they come into your ear and go buzz, 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 buzz. And that's mosquito language for saying, I'm coming for you, I'm going to bite you soon. And then, when they bite you, many times I did this, okay mosquito, I'm taking a little bit of blood, you're not going to harm me or hurt me. And so they'd land on my hand, and they do what in Australia, in the northwest of Australia, with the big mining companies, they do exploratory drill first of all. They put their nose down and test the blood there. And it was really rare that they'd take their first bit of blood. They'd always walk a little bit further and do another exploratory drill. They were so fussy. I don't know if the mosquitoes in Indonesia are like that. Are they fussy mosquitoes too? I must have been just they saw this was a monk. When they saw it was a monk, they realized they were safe. Maybe in Indonesia, they have to be very fast. Put their nose down and take whatever they can get before being swatted. But because monks don't swat mosquitoes, they take advantage of us. So they put on their nose down and they take some blood. I think you can do better than that, and they go somewhere else. And so just for one mosquito, you get 3 or 4 little bites. Really unfair. But nevertheless, it's only a little bit. And at the moment, here it's so cold, so mosquitoes are all, I don't know what they're doing, in the freezer or something, waiting for it to warm up. But nevertheless, it's an opportunity. You don't have to worry about mosquitoes, and you can have a lot of peace and comfort here. And it's also the case that some of you this afternoon will have energy. And if you do have energy, you did rest enough last night, or you came a day or 2 earlier, and you have rested, then you can always come out here any time to meditate. In fact, usually the best meditations you have is when you just come up here by yourself and sit down and meditate quietly. And don't even worry about the clock. Have you noticed there's no clocks on the walls here? Except in that room over there. Have you seen that clock in that room? It's always accurate. Now minutes past now. On the 9th day of the 9th month, 2000 and now. In other words, it doesn't tell the time in the usual way. It just tries to encourage people to be in the present moment, just now. And my goodness, what a great opportunity you have just to be now. You don't have to worry about lunchtime. I guarantee you won't miss it. It's just like those of you who visited Bodhinyana Monastery over the road. I've never seen any of the birds, the parrots, with a watch. Have you seen them with a wristwatch or timer? They always get there in time for lunch. How do they know? But they never miss lunch, not once. They don't need a watch or a timer. So just when it's time for lunch, you'll know it's basically that time, and you can go and get some lunch. But you don't have to worry about time. Imagine what it's like out there in the world, where you've got to make sure you get to the airport in time. You have to imagine just you're worried about when you're going to land. You have to worry about, are you going to be picked up on time? Or you have to worry, especially if you're a monk, are you going to have lunch in time? That happened to me. I timed it all perfectly, and the plane was going to arrive at Perth Airport. I had plenty of time. Some good disciples were going to take me out for lunch. I have to eat before noon, before midday, and the plane was late. But it wasn't totally late. It was just late enough to make it exciting. So when we landed in Perth Airport, I think I had about half an hour. It's a domestic flight, but they didn't serve any food on the plane. So when I came out, I looked at the clock, I had about 15 minutes. So if they'd have disembarked me quickly, I maybe could have had some lunch. But there's always delays. Excuse me, but the gate staff haven't arrived yet. Or we're just waiting for just to get a vacant spot on the airport. They always make excuses. But as they were making more and more excuses, I looked, the time was ticking. 10 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go. And when I finally got out of the airport, the people who were meeting me had this beautiful lunch prepared. They realized I couldn't actually get out of the airport and eat outside. They had a nice bag of food for me. And then as I looked at the clock, it went past noon. And I was really concerned that the person who was offering it to me looked very happy. I was, Ken. And I thought, why are you so happy? He wouldn't admit it, but I soon figured it out. Because I couldn't eat it. He can't let it go to waste, so he had to eat it. He said, oh, never mind. Yeah, I know why, never mind. So anyhow, sometimes you can worry about time, be a prisoner of time, but it doesn't matter. Even if I do miss a meal, I always keep plenty in store inside, just in case. Just like they have the camels in the desert. Now they have the humps there. What have they got the humps there for? It's to store water if they can't find anything. This is my little hump, to store food in case I can't find any in time. So it's nice to not worry about food. There'll be plenty here for you. But what is nice to be able to do is to relax. Relax enough so when it's time for food, you can just go out there and get your food. When it's time for, in the afternoon, have a cup of tea. Honestly, you can have a cup of tea any time you like. You can have a cup of coffee, a drink of water. This is actually a 5-star retreat for you. And if you want to prove that, just in the evening time, just go outside and sit on the stupa, lay on your back, and it's a 1,000-star retreat. You look at the stars in the sky. It's a beautiful time now. If it's a clear sky without any clouds, it's the new moon has just passed, so there's no even moon in the sky. And it's such clear air here. So sometimes even I like doing that. going out on the stoop and just looking at the stars at night. And absolutely gorgeous. And I don't think you get such clear air in Hong Kong, Indonesia. So spend some time, even if it might be freezing, but it's worth it. Just go outside and look at the beautiful stars. It's the Milky Way. See the whole lot of it up the top there. And it's really inspiring. So what it is we're giving you the opportunity to relax to the max, to do the meditation at your time. It's something which I was always concerned about when I started these meditation retreats. Why is it that you get people in the evening? And I would confess, I was into ego. I thought, I'm the teacher, so I should stay up here last of all. So after the evening talk, or the evening questions and answers, I'd just cross my legs and continue to meditate up here. And most of people would leave and go to bed. But I said, no, I'm going to stay here until everybody else leaves first. And every 10 minutes, I'd open an eye. Who does she think she is? And see, there's still 2 or 3 people meditating. And then I'd close my eyes, and then open my eyes another 10 minutes later, and there's still another woman meditating. Oh, that woman. Because I couldn't go to bed until she went to bed. So I kept on waiting and waiting and waiting. What a stupid thing that is. And the only reason why I was concerned was because everybody kind of had to get up at a certain time in the morning. And now I realize why. This is your retreat. There are times when in the evening you have lots and lots of energy. If you have, keep on meditating. Don't ever think, oh, I better go to bed now because I've got to get up early in the morning. You don't have to get up early in the morning. You get up when your body wants you to get up. You don't sleep in. You don't force the body to get up. It becomes a natural progress. And when it becomes natural like that, the thing which I've discovered, I don't know why other people don't do this, you get people meditating much more when the schedule is flexible. You meditate much more because you look at your body, how does it feel? And if it feels energized and peaceful, keep on going. There's few places in the world where you can do this. I mean that. Where you can get up in the morning, a nice safe place. It's comfortable. You can put the aircon on if you need to, any time of the day or night. And just, that's reverse cycle. So it keeps it nice and warm. You can get blankets out. You can get a teddy bear or whatever you need. Or monsters, I don't know what that thing is you've got on your lap over there. It's really weird. You know how these teddy bears started? Just on the side. It was in Hong Kong. You remember there was, I forget the young man, he brought 2 of his teddy bears to one of these retreats. And they were sitting up there on either side of the Buddha statue like Sariputra and Moggallana. And when I saw them there, I said, ask people, is it okay if they can put them on their laps to get a bit of kindness and softness in their meditation? And the owner said, yeah, of course. And so many people borrowed those teddy bears, and their meditation got far more easy. Simply because they were physically adding this kindness, compassion to their meditation practice. It made them more soft, which is important to get into deep meditation. And that's actually why the Buddha said you've got to make your body comfortable and the meditation posture delightful, and get into places where there are few mosquitoes. He actually said that, which is far enough away from people but not too remote that it feels dangerous. How many of you have been to Bodh Gaya in India? place where the Buddha cut in line. It's very noisy now, but I do remember going there in 1972, I think, and it was deserted. It's a rainy season, yeah. There wasn't any ceremonies going on, but there was hardly anybody there. And you didn't have to pay for tickets to get it in anywhere. You just wander wherever you wanted to. And that's just about 30, 40 years ago. And I still also remember, from 50 years ago, what it would have been like, when the Buddha went there. It was like a park next to the river. And this river just gently sort of flowing past the grassy banks. With lots of beautiful trees and shade. They called it Arama. And Arama means like a pleasure park. It's a place where people would go and just chill out. It was gorgeous, beautiful, secluded, with lots of shade there. That is where the Buddha said, monks, those are the sorts of places you should go to meditate. Not too ascetic. So I apologize for the cold weather. I tried my best, but please, we can't make it too hot. This is just the time of the year. But nevertheless, I think you can find it warm and comfortable enough, I hope. And when you can find it warm and comfortable enough, for you, not for me, I like the cold. But many of you need it much warmer. Please get the blanket, wrap it around you, make yourself comfortable. When it is comfortable, then it's much easier to meditate. That's why in Hong Kong, when we did that retreat, for that first retreat we used teddy bears. It was so successful that I got 2 or 3 other teddy bears here when I came back. Because that fella, what was his name again? It's a young man. Anyway, in Hong Kong. Anyway, whatever his name was, there was a lot of, in those days, very wealthy people in Hong Kong, and they offered him a fortune for those teddy bears. He refused to sell them. It told me that people really appreciated having a little warm, little teddy bear on your lap when you're meditating. So we got 2 or 3, and then I've never bought any teddy bears or anything. All I do is just once the retreat is over, go back to Bodhinyana Monastery. When I come back again, the next retreat, there's always more teddy bears. I'm not sure what they're doing when the monks are not here. They can't be keeping 8 precepts. They keep multiplying. And I just looked at the new ones there. Even got a chicken there. Goodness gracious. And a pig. And something with big eyes, and that looks like a weirdo. But nevertheless, it's something which gives you a sense of safety, softness, and really helps with your meditation. So, and as the Buddha said, you sit down, you don't have to worry about clocks. Just go into this timelessness. You're just here and you're enjoying it, I hope. If you're not enjoying it, you don't have a sense of peace, and notice the joy of peace. And then what happens, you have to force yourself. Many times when I was meditating with Ajahn in the jungle sometimes I'd have a little clock close to me, and I'd look at the clock. Oh my goodness, that's only 1/4 of an hour have gone past. And I'd already had enough. I was sore, I didn't sleep well the night before or something. And I just wanted to leave. But when you got your teacher right in front of you, you couldn't leave. I know this one monk, Ajahn, his name was, one of the chief disciples of Ajahn Chah. And he built his meditation hall, a big hall, but his seat was right next to the door. Really mean. If anybody wanted to leave before time, they'd have to go right past him. So he caught so many monks trying to sneak out, get back inside. He was not only the teacher, he was the doorman, the bouncer, the whatever you call it. But nevertheless, that's not really how to get people to meditate deeply. You have to feel safe, comfortable. And there are times when you don't want to meditate much at all. You know what I did? I was going to announce this to you. That when I wasn't comfortable meditating, I'd had enough that time, I was sore or tired, and you saw Ajahn meditating there. I got out all these fantasies and schemes how to get out of this. So I saw he had a bell, a much bigger bell than this. And I remember as a kid having a pea shooter, a little tube, and you put these dried peas inside. They go, phew. That's what I used to do as a small kid, playing games. But I thought, well, I can find a tube. Now all I need to find is like a dried pea or a little rock or something, and practice in the jungle. And when I get my aim really refined, then I can sit close enough, look at the bell, ding! That's just kind of stupid fantasies you have to try and get out of sitting too long. And there were other times you were sitting meditation, you're getting really peaceful and really enjoying every moment of it. And then, bong, Ajahn Chah would ring the bell. I thought, that's really unfair. And I often said, imagine that the Buddha in Bodh Gaya had a teacher sitting next to him. And he was just about to get fully enlightened, and bong, the Buddha wouldn't have got enlightened. Now that's not just joking, that's so true. There's sometimes when you're meditating, you're really getting into it, it's getting nice and peaceful, and then someone has to ring the bell. You think, oh, why did they do that for? That's one of the reasons why these days I hardly ever ring the bell. After chanting, or just before chanting, yes. But most other times you keep it quiet. You don't need to ring the bell. You sit down and be quiet. Get into some nice meditation. If it's working, carry on. If it's not working, get up and do some walking meditation. Or if it's late at night, go to bed, or just go and have a cup of tea or coffee or orange juice or something. You work with your body rather than against it. And because of that, I found on these retreats, people meditate much more when you're not forced. Why do people meditate more? Because they enjoy it. Number one, they feel safe. I didn't do that, not me. To feel that safe, so you don't have to hold your body tight. There's no fear going on. You feel it's also safe in this room. Now this room is really comfortable. We don't have mosquitoes come in here. We don't have any snakes. Even if there was a snake. I've been telling a few people about snake stories in Thailand recently. And I just remember many times I was doing this chanting once. It was like the Patimokkha chant years ago. And as I was doing the chant, I was up on the highest seat because I was doing this Vinaya chant with my hands up. And the monk sitting in front of me, I noticed that up on his shoulder, a head came up. And I looked at it. It was a very dangerous snake. While he was doing this chanting, it crawled up his back, and now his head was higher than his shoulder. And then you saw this really weird event. the monk noticed the corner of his eye, there was something over here. So the monk looked around. And the snake was actually looking at me, and the snake looked around. So this monk and this snake were eyeballing each other. It was actually ridiculous. And then what the monk did, he just, very gently, he just lowered his robe. Not so violently, otherwise that may have scared the snake, and the fear in the snake is why the snakes bite people. But he did it so calmly, so gently, the snake just gently fell down onto the ground and then just went away. No problem at all. So often in life, when you're kind to animals, they will never, ever, ever, ever harm you. It's a bit unfortunate right now, it's a cold season here, because we do have a lovely snake who's a member of our Ajahn Grove community. He's a nice dugite. You can ask Christina about it. Only comes out in the hot weather, and he just hangs around. You know, maybe the reception area, or sometimes around the back of the cottages. It's such a lovely animal. You look at it, the colourings are beautiful. And the dugite is one of the most venomous snakes here in Western Australia. Please don't ever be afraid, just admire it. Keep a little distance from it if you see it. And notice it just sits there just happily enjoying the sunshine when the sunshine comes out. There's no way in the world that snake would ever bite anybody, because we're a friendly community. Snakes got to know us, we got to know the snake. And hopefully, maybe in the future, I hope to see many baby snakes, so we can have many more to share around. Is that a good idea? No, why? Come on. Why are you afraid? Snakes will never harm you, I can guarantee that. If you just treat them with kindness and respect, they will never ever harm you. I remember even like treading on a snake in Thailand a few years ago. My, I think 6th or 7th Rains retreat. Just as you open the door of a monk's hut, there's this like blind spot which is just in front of the door. So as you open it, your eyes are going a bit further into the hut. You don't see what's right in front of you on the ground. There was a snake there. And then when I stepped on the snake, you could feel something cold, not my floor anymore, there was a snake there. I didn't step on it hard, so I didn't squash it or hurt it. As soon as I felt there's something like cold and slimy underneath my feet, of course I jumped. Unfortunately, I jumped one way, the snake jumped the other way. That was a bit of good fortune. But then as soon as, it jumped apart, the snake looked at me, and it's obviously what the snake was thinking. You don't need to be a mind reader. That snake was, is this person dangerous? And of course, all I did was give it forgiveness. I'm sorry for disturbing you and frightening you. I'll never ever harm you. And the snake looked at me, I looked at the snake. I said sorry to the snake, and then the snake, you could actually see in its expression on its face, it wasn't aggressive, it didn't want to harm me. It just wanted to have a nice way it can just go out into the bush. And that's when I wished it loving kindness. Usually what I say is, may all snakes be happy and well. Somewhere else, but not in my hut, please. But no ill will at all. And sometimes living with so many wild animals like that, I don't know, it may think I'm stupid, but you can feel that these animals will never ever be a problem to you at all. One of these monks, he was a very strange monk, but legitimate. It was one of, for those of you who know Tanjef over in US, it was his teacher's teacher. And when he was meditating in the jungle in Thailand, he was on this wandering, and he went to sit down, and the lay people already said they were going to come in a couple of hours' time after they had their lunch and listen to a talk from him. So he agreed, and he went under a nice shady tree to sit, meditation, and as soon as he sat down, he felt things crawling up his leg. It wasn't snakes, but it was these biting black ants. And they really sting. And when they started climbing up his leg, he thought, oh my goodness, I sat in the wrong place. And so he jumped up to run away. And after he got a couple of steps away, he thought, no, that's not what a monk should do. So he went back to where he was sitting before and sat down again. Tough guy. So all these ants started crawling up his leg again and biting him. So he changed his meditation object. He was doing like the anapanasati, mindfulness of the breath, with the buddho method. And he changed that to loving kindness. And in his autobiography, he said what happened next. He said it was painful at first, but only for a minute or two. When he gave this loving kindness to all these ants, he experienced they weren't biting him anymore. And the next thing he noticed, that the ants were actually crawling in the opposite direction. They were crawling down his leg. And then the last one left his body. And then he got into lovely meditation for an hour and a half or so. And then he was disturbed by hearing lots of noise. And when he opened his eyes, he saw all these lay people who had come to listen to a talk were all dancing. And he thought, people have different customs in different parts of the world. And he thought in this part of Thailand, they must have this tradition of dancing in front of a monk before they ask for a talk. But when he opened his eyes further, he saw they weren't dancing out of some sort of ceremony. They were dancing because they had been bitten to hell by all these black ants surrounding him. And he looked, and he said it was like a meter no man's land around his body. And then the ants were massed all around him. He could only say protecting him, because they weren't biting him. They were kind of just a meter away from his body on all sides, all around. That's what happens. Or, when I'm on this subject, the man over in Sri Lanka, every morning as he went to work, he passed this lagoon, and he would always feed the fish 2 or 3 slices of bread. He did that every morning. And then one day when he was walking past this lagoon, the fish were already there, but then a crocodile came. And so the crocodile was not eating the fish. So he gave the crocodile some bread, a couple of slices of bread. And from that day on, this crocodile would come every morning to get some slices of bread to eat. And then a week or 2 later, that's when the tsunami hit. And this big wave came and swept him out into the ocean. The current was so strong he couldn't resist it. He tried to swim, but the current was too strong. He said that he next grabbed a chair, which was being washed out to the ocean, to try and keep afloat. But the current was so strong it ripped the chair away from him. And the next thing he grabbed onto was the log, which was floating out to sea. At least he could actually grab hold of that because it had a rough surface on the outside. And you can imagine what it's like being in these tsunamis, life and death. It's just so afraid, so scared and tense. And that's when he started to notice something strange happening. Whereas everything else was flowing out to sea, the log he was holding on to was actually going towards the shore in the opposite direction. He wasn't quite sure what was happening, but as he got close enough to the dry land, the shore, he could jump off the log and find safety on the dry land. It's only then he checked, what was that log? What was the log? His crocodile, yeah. His crocodile had saved his life, deliberately. And I know many people in Australia think, no, Ajahn Brahm, that's not kindness. It's just that crocodile realized if that man died, he would never get any bread ever again. Well, I reckon it was kindness. But that's the thing with animals and human beings. If you're kind to them, you have a lot of fun with them. And next time you're over in Bodhinyana for lunchtime, there's so many parrots come. And you can see some of the monks feeding those parrots. They really shouldn't do that, but they do anyway. And just feeding them by hand. A little parrot comes up and just takes a little bit. They could hurt a monk because they've got very sharp beaks. They just take a little bit of rice or whatever, and then they just eat it, and then they come back and get some more. It's so cute. These are wild animals, the parrots. They're not pets. They get to know you. And after a while, it's really fun, just them trusting you, you trusting them. So, this is kind of the power of that kindness and that softness. We always practice kindness, don't we? Sometimes people give donations to, say, cats' homes, so the cats can have some food and they don't get, a few years ago, telling the story of George. This lovely cat, quite hairy, soft, appeared in Bodhinyana Monastery here. No, just over the road, sorry. Appeared there. We didn't know where it was from. We didn't see anybody bring a cat that day. But it was such a friendly cat. And like monks, emotionally deprived. No, they're not emotionally deprived. I think you can get to know what I mean. And this little cat, allowed everybody to stroke it. And we didn't know what to do with it. It just arrived. We could ask it, where are you from? It didn't say. So we didn't know where it was from. But it was domesticated because it just liked hanging around people. And it was very, very, very well behaved. So eventually, at the end of the rains retreat, it's not me who makes the decisions. We had a Sangha meeting, the whole monks all together, and we decided it's such a lovely cat, and it didn't seem to be catching many animals at all at night time. That's a danger in Australia. They can decimate the local wildlife. So we resolved, yes, okay, we can adopt that cat, and it can be a cat in this monastery. But then we had to take it to the vet, because it had to get a chip in it so that it's registered and so people know who it belongs to. And then to our surprise, we found it already had an owner. That's where we found its name was George. And the owner was registered on the database, and so we called the owner up and said, have you lost a cat? And he said, yeah, George, he's been gone for about 3 months. We don't know where he's gone to. He said, he's come to our monastery. He's been staying with us for 3 months. And the owner said, how did it get there? We don't know, because the owner lived in South Perth. That's about 60 kilometres away, up north. And he said, well, it's been with us. Do you want it back? And he said, yeah, they love the cat. So we had to send the cat back to its home. And I sometimes thought afterwards, how come that cat came over here? And the answer was pretty obvious. It was during our rains retreat. It decided it wanted to do a rains retreat at Bodhinyana Monastery, and it came. You know how difficult it is to get a spot on some of the rains retreats we do here? So that cat had no problem at all. It just came and just was very nice to all the monks, and so got a spot for 3 months. I don't know how much meditation it did or how deep it went, but it certainly had a wonderful time and gave a lot of kindness to all the monks. I kind of like those animal stories. They're all ones which I know are true. and just how that gives a kind of softness in the heart. Why is it we can be kind to animals? We find it very hard to be kind to ourselves. How many of you are really tired now? Be honest? I put my hand up too. I didn't sleep much last night. Came here late. So what would you do? Yes! Have a rest. Sometimes people ask me, what's the best way to overcome sloth and torpor? I don't know why people get this in their idea they should be ascetic. And that's what the Buddha said not to do. It's a middle way, the first teaching of the Buddha. And honestly, okay, one of those stories, this executive from Sydney, because when she first arrived on one of my retreats, she said she had to beg and squirm in front of her boss to get a week off from work. Does that happen to you sometimes? You know, you're just too good an executive and the boss just doesn't want to let you go. But then she came, arrived, just like some of you, past midnight. So I could only check in with her, the morning after she arrived, one day into the retreat. And when she told me, how hard it was for her to get here, how she had to finish off tie up all those loose ends before she could leave the office, and how late she had been working and coming here, and you could see she was really tired. So I told her, I said, look, for your first 2 or 3 days, I want you to only get up for breakfast. Don't come for the morning meeting. And after breakfast, go back to bed. Get up for lunch. After lunch, go back to bed. And I'm really proud of her. She actually followed the advice. She'd get up in the afternoon and evening, listen to a talk or something. But she spent so much time in the early morning, mid-morning, after lunch, sleeping. And when she came for her interview, it was about meditation, nothing else. But she said that in her cottage, she could feel all the other members in that cottage, because she was sleeping so much, she said, they were so angry at me, always looking down at me. And that's what I said, look, they're not angry at you, they're jealous. They wish they had enough guts to do that. What happened? After 3 days, she caught up on her sleep. The next 3 days, she started coming to more and more meetings, more and more meditations, participating like everybody else was participating. But then the last 3 days, this is the reason why I tell this story, it's totally honest. The last 3 days, she was a star meditator. She got really deep in her meditation. Why? Just like the Buddha, she discovered for her what the middle way was. And so her body wasn't tired. She didn't need to strive. She didn't need to battle sloth and torpor. It just wasn't there. And so she could meditate really peacefully, very deeply, enjoyably. I will say this many times on this retreat. The way to focus the mind on an object is never through force. It's by seeing the joy, the beauty in what you're watching, and how delightful it is. You just cannot take your eyes away from it. This eyes mean figuratively. Your mindfulness stays on that object because it's so enjoyable, so lovely. Why would you ever want to go anywhere else? And that becomes, I don't know why you call it the secret of meditation. It's what the Buddha kept on saying. Letting go, renounce, don't grasp, no wanting, no ill will. In other words, you don't want the deep meditations, you don't want nimittas or jhanas, you don't want stages of enlightenment. If you want them, you're going on the wrong path. You just relax the body and the mind until the mind becomes so enjoyable. You don't want any other distraction. You're sitting there just watching the, whether it starts off with maybe the breath, and the breath becomes a delightful breath, really delightful. Nimittas and jhanas and stages of enlightenment, they come naturally and really, really enjoyably. That's why, after a while, you see people meditating here, and I have to admit this, people do miss their lunch. You know why? Because you're sitting there, and you know, I can come out of meditation and have a lunch, or I can miss my lunch and bliss out instead, and really bliss out. It's no contest. You just stay there enjoying your meditation to levels you haven't experienced before. Whoa, it's really blissful and joyful. That's why that executive, when she went back to work, she sent me an email and said, when I went back to work, my boss noticed the difference in me. But the boss didn't understand, spending a week on a meditation retreat, how come you look so happy? And so he apparently told the boss told this lady, his executive, I don't care what the Ajahn Brahm is giving you, what drug it is. Even if it's illegal, I don't mind, but can you please get me some next time you go over there? He only thought that kind of joy and happiness and peace could be provided by some kind of medication, some sort of drug. And he said it's not a drug, it's something much more powerful and beautiful, natural, just the stillness of your mind. And you enjoy it so much. There is a danger though. I always have to say this, because the danger in this type of meditation is that you might lose all your hair. You know what I mean, don't you? You want to renounce, become a monk or a nun. Once you get into it, there's pretty much no choice for you anymore. There was purity of conduct, bliss, meaning, understanding. This is not a small thing. That's one of the reasons why, when the Buddha was alive and teaching, all these people he taught, they kind of renounced and became monks and nuns. That's why people said that the Buddha's got some Buddha magic. They thought he was a magician. He would talk to people, and they get so inspired and blissed out, they'd renounce everything, no matter who they were. Are you interested? Or are you scared? This is not the Buddha magic. It is Buddha magic, but I learned it from all those teachers, and it goes back to the Buddha and before. The Buddha magic. Zam, 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 zam. And you don't do this out of fear, out of force, out of wanting anything. Just the peace and the stillness, the joy, the happiness, the purity of that lifestyle. All you need is just to sit down on a chair, close your eyes, and bliss out. Nothing dangerous, but something very, very pleasant. And how that happens a lot of the time is just totally natural. And don't ever, ever think that you can't do it. I know people say, oh, Ajahn Brahm is a bit crazy. Yeah, maybe some people can, but people from Hong Kong, nah, Hong Kongese can't get deep meditation. Ladies, nah, they can't get deep meditation. Can they? Of course you can. Many, many times people have come into this hall, and in the interviews they come out afterwards and tell me all this amazing stuff they experience in their meditation. Really beautiful stuff. Okay, last story. This guy, he was an Aussie guy. Big guy, really rough. It was one of the summer retreats, so it was hot. And he had fuzzy hair, and he was wearing Australian national dress. A dirty singlet, shorts, and thongs. That's all. And he had all these tattoos all over him. And I like admitting this because I really messed up. When I saw him, I thought, this can't be someone who's coming on my retreat. I've never seen him before. And so I said to him, and I think you may know this, just up the road here, 6 kilometers, there's a prison farm. And so I said, excuse me, sir, I think you got the wrong place. The prison is up the road there, 6 kilometers, if you want to visit your friends. It's really embarrassing. But I'm happy I make big mistakes like that because it's a good story. So he said, no, I'm on the retreat. And I looked up his name, and it's true, he was on the retreat. Okay, very good, all the best. But he was the last person I think would ever get into a deep meditation. So you can imagine what I felt like when he came for his interview and he started describing what had happened in his meditation. Blew my mind. He got into a jhana, a real one. No doubt at all. Beautiful. The last person I'd ever expected on that retreat to have such beautiful meditation experience. It was real. He wasn't faking it. He wasn't overestimating. And then he disappeared for a couple of years. But then someone sort of met up with him over in the east coast of Australia, and he's still meditating, and he said that experience changed his life, which it does. The last person I'd ever thought would get a deep meditation. So if he can do that, can't you? Of course! It's nothing to do with your gender or where you come from or who you are. It's just the nature of the human body and mind. If you know how to be still long enough, these are just things which happen naturally. So I'll be encouraged. But I should actually say to you, please don't get into the jhanas on the first couple of days of the retreat. If you do, you'll have nothing else to do for the rest of the retreat. So just enjoy it, let it happen. Your job is to get out of the way. That's the only thing you do. Get out of the way and let it happen. And you have a wonderful time. Okay, so that's the first little talk. It's not so much giving information. You've got too much information already. It's giving what I call inspiration, I hope. You get inspired. You can do this. But don't force it. Just enjoy. Okay, so you've got a nice easy time from now till lunchtime. You can take a rest if you wish. You can go for a walk if you wish. You can meditate if you wish. I don't know, you can stand on your head if you wish. I don't know what you get up to. But just be kind to yourself, be gentle, and see what happens. Thank you for listening. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. You forgot how to do sadhu. Let's try it again. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. He he he. It always has 3 he's after, or hers if you wish. Her, her, her. So anyway, this is something which Ajahn Chah kept telling me. Whatever you do, don't just do it half-hearted. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. give it energy. You don't waste energy, you make energy. Okay, have a wonderful morning, if you wish. I don't compel you. You can be miserable if you want to. Australia's a free world.